My name is Christina, and today is my first day seeing a psychologist. I've always been a troubled kid, but I've never actually needed to see someone to justify that. Well, not until now. A few weeks back, something happened. Even now, it's hard for me to think about it, even though I know I will have to. I can't just pretend everything is fine. I was at a house party with a couple of my friends. Tom and Alice were taking shots by my side as I watched on, a little worried. Admittedly, the two of them often overdid the drinking, so I usually stayed sober to make sure they'd be okay. Instead of drinking, you should try lucid dreaming. Alice cackled as she threw back another shot, tossing her head back as well. I gagged at the sight of pure alcohol coming from her. It wasn't long until she vomited and regretted all of her life choices. As her best friend, it was my duty to take care of her. She'd always said she would do the same for me one day, but that day, I shake my head, trying not to feel too much anger for my friend. She was drunk after all. Lucid dreaming? I asked, because really, I wanted to at least sound cool. Only, I had no idea what this lucid dreaming thing was. Yeah, you try to sleep on your back and meditate or whatever. It's like getting high. Apparently you can fly and stuff when you sleep like that. Control your movements, eat, whatever. For how drunk she was, Alice explained the concept well enough, and then barfed the last few shots out into the trash can before going in for another. You should just sleep here, Cindy, the host said, laying a hand on my shoulder. I stepped away, while she managed to walk in a straight line. She was clearly wasted as well. But she was right. I didn't feel very comfortable driving a puking Alice and Tom who was probably up to no good. Crashing on a bed and going back home the next morning sounded like a much better idea. And so, with the music still echoing off the walls, I curled up in Cindy's bed, only to be reminded of lucid dreaming again. I've never gotten high, and part of me wanted to at least try. What could go wrong, right? I grabbed my phone and did some research. I shouldn't have done that, but minutes later, I was listening to an audio that was sure to help me lucid dream. As the reliable friend, I wanted to just do something crazy for once. I should have just had a couple shots. See, as I listened to the crooning male voice coax me to relax, I became hyper-aware of my body. It felt weird, forcing myself to keep still, to stop wiggling my toes, to make my fingers stop clutching the blanket over me. Finally, it started. I felt as if I was anchored to the bed. The man from the audio said it was okay. All I needed was to push myself off, to take flight. But I couldn't. I tried to wiggle my toes at first, but they refused to move. My neck, too, felt as if it had glued to the cushion. The music still continued, as loud as ever. With the audio stopping, I could hear it again. But I couldn't react to it. I was paralyzed. I'd never heard of anything like this happening. But then again, I rarely dreamt. So, being in such a state was fascinating at first. I was hyper-aware of everything going on around me. The heat of my blanket covering me, the noises, the way my chest rose and fell. My eyes, they were stuck open too, although all I could see was the ceiling. I tried to push myself away, once again, but nothing happened. And then, I heard it. A scream. Alice! Alice! I wanted to shout, knowing it was her, but my throat felt like it was stuffed with cotton. Breathing became a chore as I realized just how dry my mouth was, as if it was stuck open too. Maybe it was, but there was nothing I could do about it. Alice barged into the room, nearly tearing the door off the hinges. She She wasn't herself. I knew that, but still. What the? Did you really do it? Huh. Look at the loser. Christina, can you move? I tried my hardest to nod, fearing the person I had thought to be my friend, but nothing happened. Gosh, look at you. Too smart for drugs, so you decided to get high in a different way. Huh. I've always wanted this. To see you motionless. This is not Alice, I thought to myself. But the way she leaned over me, her face obstructing my sight, made it hard to believe it wasn't Alice's perfectly manicured nails. And they seemed much longer, like claws, as she dragged them down the wall, creating deep scratches. The sound pierced my ears. It was like chalk against a chalkboard. I shuddered as those very nails wrapped around my face. But suddenly, the figure above me wasn't Alice anymore. Her features seemed to contort into something strange, inhumane almost. Makeup melted off her face, blending in with her skin until all that was left on her face was just black and nothing else. Her laughter, though, kept ringing in my ears. I felt pressure on my chest as if she was pushing down, and then I realized No. The creature was sitting on me. I'm going to suffocate, I thought, panic coursing through my entire body. Normally, this should have been enough, I was sure, for someone to snap out of this nightmare, but it wasn't for me. Alice cackled, showing teeth that I knew did not belong to her. They were yellow and disgusting, dripping with blood. The monster. No, Alice. No, the monster. It was going to bite me. I was sure of that, but I just couldn't move. My voice was still lost, but I struggled to at least scream, but all I managed was a quiet whine. And no help came. Alice, please, don't do this. I begged her in my mind. You always spoil my fun, Christina. Why do you even come with us if you don't like partying? Such a spoiled sport. You know what we do with people like you? Her voice was sweet like honey, but I felt nails press into my throat. I maniacally started to move again. I needed to at least roll away before I would get cut. We drowned them. Water. Suddenly, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even see anything, but it felt like water was enveloping my head from all sides. It burnt at my eyes, snuck into my nose, gurgled down my throat. I felt as if nothing but water existed around me. And then, I woke up. But when I did, I was the one with fingers around someone's throat. Alice leaned over me, shock clear on her face. My grip tightened. I could move, but I was reluctant to peel them off, even as her face started to turn blue, as tears gathered in her eyes, as she stopped breathing. At first, I watched her go limp, fall, stiff from my hold on the wooden floor, head crashing painfully against the nightstand. I was certain I was still dreaming, paralyzed, so I pinched myself. My nails had little bits of skin stuck underneath them. The pinch hurt. Crap, Alice. It was too late. She was bleeding too much and too quickly. It must have been the cut on her head that killed her. But the marks around her neck were on display too. No matter how hard I tried to scrub them off before the door opened again. It was Tom, with 2 glasses of water. He was the one who called the police on me. The next day or so was a blur. Well, all these weeks had been, really. Alice was killed. By me. Apparently she'd gone upstairs to check on me, to make sure I was all right, because she had heard me screaming. And I killed her. I begged the policeman to understand that I had been paralyzed, that something else was controlling me. But why would anyone believe me? The ratty nerd who always envied her darling popular friend. The girl who never dared to do much but watch her friends have fun. So, here I am now, locked up, ready for my first time in therapy. In jail. Apparently, what had happened could still be ruled an accident. I could be freed after a few years. But what if history will repeat itself? Ever since then, I only sleep when I collapse out of exhaustion. I try to keep my mind busy, hoping that I never fall into that weird, possessed paralysis thing again. But it's getting harder and harder. I fear that one night I will fall asleep early, and I'll hurt someone again. Or hurt myself. Who knows? Anything can happen in that twisted state.